Thanks, Wendell. Good evening. We begin tonight's regional news with details emerging from St. Kitts and Nevis. Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris says government expects $188 million fallout in revenue over the first 6 months of this year as compared to the same period last year due to the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. He informed that the coronavirus has disrupted the livelihoods of many citizens as well as undermined the ability of fathers and mothers to care for themselves and families. According to the Prime Minister, no leader before has faced such a monumental crisis or challenge. He has promised to do all in his power with the grace of God to lead the people. Harris said that several locally electronic-based companies have made their contributions to export earnings and the global supply of products, but warned against resting on laurels. While St. Kitts and Nevis has a per capita income of $30,208, which is an impressive statistics among small island states, there is still much more progress to be realized. Harris said that the high debt burden that strangled the Federation at 186% of gross domestic product GDP has been dealt with, adding that our debt to GDP ratio is the lowest among all independent countries of the Eastern Caribbean states. Over to Trinidad and Tobago, Prisons Commissioner Dennis Polchan has revealed that they are now faced with a major challenge as some 28 prison officers have tested positive for COVID-19, forcing the administration to place another 231 officers in quarantine. Polchan said having so many officers out of active duty has put a strain on resources. Polchan added that luckily there are 300 new recruits taking up shifts and supplementing any shortages. However, airing time for inmates has been affected as they are now confined to their cells to reduce movement. The Prisons Commissioner informed that the prison service is taking all precautions when it comes to mitigating the spread of the virus. The details collecting data in real time through its newly established command center, which monitors inmates and officers daily. The center was set up last week at the Golden Grove Prison, and daily reports from every station are mandatory to provide information, inclusive of staff attendance and status, enhanced prisoner observation, sanitization methods, and frequencies. Polchan, who heads the center, said all prisoners are constantly monitored for any signs and symptoms, and testing has been performed on those displaying any signs and symptoms. He reminded members of the public that the prison commissary remains functional for purchases for prisoners and virtual visits will continue. And now for some PAHO news. As cases of COVID-19 have more than doubled in the region of the Americas in the past weeks, reinforcing contact tracing and data management are key when many countries are reopening their activities. The number of new COVID-19 infections reported in the Americas has more than doubled, rising from 5.3 million on July 1st to more than 12 million cases to date. Director of the Pan American Health Organization, Dr. Carissa Etienne, in a recent press conference implored that primary health care should be at the center of the response, identifying cases, acting to contain transmission, and providing timely care in the community. She added that local health authorities have a central role to play in generating and analyzing data to adjust public health measures to the reality in each area. Moreover, while alluding to countries that have gradually relaxed restrictions, resumed commerce and school despite the rise in cases, Etienne opined that wishing the virus away will not work. It will only lead to more cases, as seen in the past 6 weeks. Meanwhile, data from all over the Americas show that the majority of cases are reported in people between 20 to 59 years of age, but almost 70% of deaths are reported in people over 60. Now for our final story coming out of Venezuela. 33 countries from around the globe, including members of the Lima Group and International Contact Group and some European Union member states, signed a joint declaration calling for democracy in Venezuela. The declaration, released on August 14, is a call to put the interests of Venezuelan above politics and engage urgently in support of a process shaped and driven by Venezuelans to establish an inclusive transitional government that will lead the country into free and fair presidential elections, sooner, not later. It says its call for inclusive transitional government reinforces proposals made by the Venezuelan interim government and the U.S. government's proposed democratic transition framework released in March. The framework calls for a transitional government to function as a temporary executive branch. This transitional government would oversee steps leading to a truly free presidential election, ensuring that no candidate has an unfair advantage and set the country on a path to recovery. Well, that's a wrap for tonight's regional news. Thank you for watching, and back to my colleague Wendell.